I'm making this video response to 51 DSS. He had a video up on use of deadly force, and I thought I'd talk a little bit about that. Although I've never had to actually use deadly force, I have had on 3 occasions through the years to pull my firearm in a threatening situation. I've had other threatening situations, but I didn't have to pull a firearm. But the 3 particular, if I can get all this in one video. The first thing is 51 DSS is asking, do you have what it takes to use deadly force? When you start carrying a concealed weapon, that's only the first step, the practice. You should practice with it, get proficient with it, and know how to use your firearm. But that's just the responsibility comes with that. If you have to use that, can you do it? That's what and each individual have to make up his own mind, whether that would be possible for him to do that or not. You have to be ready to do it. Nobody wants to shoot anybody. I've never shot anybody, luckily. Come close to it, but never had to do it. And I'm really glad I didn't. But you have to make your mind up if you can do it. Okay, that's one. And 2, anybody, people practice. I mean, anybody can hit a target at 21 feet, most anybody. When you're standing there with a good shooting stance, grip and all that. But what most people don't realize, and it was evident in my 3 encounters, that you're not going to have time to take that perfect stance, that perfect aim. You may be shooting one-handed. That's why I practice point shooting. I mean, I know I can hit if I aim down sight, but that's not always going to be the case. And you have to be proficient in practice. I practice just about daily on my draw, where I carry, and there's several things you have to do. You should carry the same firearm all the time, if possible. Sometimes that's not possible. I don't all the time either. But if I switch firearms from my regular daily carry, before I start carrying it, I will do a few practice moves, a few practice draws. Because I carry a Glock most times. Sometimes I carry a PT 709 Taurus 9mm. That has a safety on it. So you got to take all that into consideration. But that being said, you need the training. Okay, you got to practice. You just can't get your CCW and load it and stick it in there. I mean, you got to practice. Try to shoot once in a while. Practice draw fire. Anyway, enough of that. That being said, if I can get all this in one video, the first encounter I had, I think, was at about 1977, and that's the time the guy was about a half a trigger pull away from dying. And I thank God I didn't have to do that. But I was going to work, and I drove the same route for 30 years. It's still a bad part of town. Well, we was starting early at 4 o'clock. Normally at 6 o'clock, we started 2 hours early. I worked at GM. But anyway, this one intersection I pull up to, there's a golf course right beside it, and there's a big oak tree right on the corner. Probably when you stop, it's probably about maybe, I'd say 15 yards, maybe 20. Well, I stopped there, and I had a coffee, and at that time I had a 38 snub nose. I had to leave it in the truck, I couldn't take it in work, but anyway, I stopped there, drinking my coffee, and I looked over, and this guy stepped out from behind that big oak tree at about 20 yards. So I'm looking. As soon as I seen him, he's come out behind the tree and started toward me. Well, as soon as he done that, I took the 38 in my weak hand. I'm right-handed. I had it in my weak hand because he was coming from the left, and he was coming straight at me. And I looked at him like that. I had plenty of warning. I seen him when he stepped out behind the tree. That's critical. You got to pay attention to your surroundings. When he was coming at me, I picked picked my 38 up. I had it laying on the seat. That's where I carried it most of the time. I was riding in the truck. Switched hands to my weak hand. He come at this point I still got it below the window. I looked and he's coming straight at me. Well, he pulled out a firearm. It was some kind of automatic. I couldn't really tell. It was kind of dark. A street light there, but I could see it. He pulled it out and was starting to bring it up to barrel. Okay, when he did that, he was probably 30 feet maybe. When he did that, I stuck it out the window and I staged the trigger. I had it half pulled, aimed dead straight at body mass. Well, I was just getting ready to trip the trigger because he was bringing the gun up. Well, at that point, he seen the gun. That changed his mind in a damn hurry. If he'd have come up any higher with that gun, I would have pulled that trigger the rest of the way. When he seen that, he just dropped the gun, turned around, and took off. Luckily, and I don't mind telling you, it scared the crap out of me. I really wasn't thinking about getting shot because I pretty much had to drop on him. But what scared me was that I was gonna, I thought I was gonna have to shoot him, and God forbid that ever happen. I never want to do that, but I've made my mind up that I will, if I have to, in defense of anybody, my family, whoever, I will do that. That's what you have to make your mind up to do. Now that guy, I don't know how close he knows how close he came from dying, but he come real close. And that was the first time. And like I said, it really scared me. I mean, it scared me. Anybody says don't is crazy. And all this practice, reason you need to practice is because in a situation you don't have time to think about, well, I'll reach back there and draw this and do it. It's got to be pretty much automatic. Okay? That's why I practice all the time. That was the first time. Okay? And probably the last time wasn't too good either, but the second time, I've been going fishing. I live in the Pontiac area. There's a park, city park. Well, quite a few people use it today, but it's a pretty bad area at night, and especially on the weekends. They ain't nothing but dopers or they drink. I've been in there at 4 o'clock in the morning. They're over partying half drunk, being drunk and partying and shit. Well, I've never had a problem, and the reason I went in there because they had a public boat launch. That's why I went in there and did it for years. So anyway, this particular time, my boat motor was messing up, and I've been working on it, and I needed to adjust the carburetor, and I didn't have enough to put the motor in to run it, so I just run down there real quick, and it was getting pretty close to dark, so I just went down there and I was just going to back it in and start it, leave it right on the trailer and then run it and adjust my carburetor and see how it was working. Well, I'm sitting there, and some guy wanted to launch, so I had to pull it out. Well, I had to launch it and then pull my car out, so I pulled it over the side, and there was a high bank in front of the boat. So I'm sitting there in the back of the boat, pissing with the carburetor and getting it running. All of a sudden, somebody said back and says, "Hey," and I turned around, and there was 5 guys standing up on that bank, about, I don't know, shit wasn't 15 feet. And I said, "Yeah," and they said, "Well, you need any help?" Now, I didn't see no weapon or nothing, but there was 5 guys, and I didn't think they really wanted to help me. There's probably a bunch of dopers anyways, but I said, "No, I'm okay." So I'm watching them. I turned back around. I'm watching them on my peripheral vision. They just stood there mumbling something. Says, "Hey, we'll come down there and help you." Well, at that time, I had actually I was carrying a Smith & Wesson 44 Magnum, 6.5 inch, and I had it in a shoulder holster with a light jacket over it. Well, they kept insisting they was going to come down, and I said, "No, I don't need no help." So I turned about halfway back around so I could still watch them out, and they're mumbling some more. I said, "Well, we'll come there and give you a hand with that boat." Well, at that point, I said, "No, I ain't going to have this." So I just pulled my jacket. I turned around and just opened my jacket so they could see that shoulder holster. And I said, "No, I don't need no help." And they looked there, and the guy said, "Okay, cool, man." They turned around and left, and that was the end of that. Now, I don't know what they was going to do. I didn't see no weapon, but I kind of think 5 guys would have gave me some problems. I was younger then, but I couldn't defend myself against 5 guys. And that was the end of that situation. So that ended good. The last time was in, let's see, 2007. I mentioned this in one of my other videos too. I'll briefly go through it. My buddy went over, he was buying a bunch of computer stuff at Best Buy. So we went in, he bought a computer and a whole bunch of stuff, and I bought a chair. Matter of fact, the one I'm sitting in right now. And he told me to take the keys and go out the van and put the seat down because he had a bunch of stuff too. So I went out there. At this point, it's getting pretty close to dark. Well, put the stuff, put the seat down, put my seat up, and went around and closed the driver's side door. And when I turned around, this guy was coming straight at me across as a double aisle. I was about 6 cars down. A double aisle. He's coming out from between the cars directly, straight kind of at an angle across. Well, what got my attention, and you got to pay attention to this, he locked eye contact with me and didn't look away at all. He's staring, more or less staring me down. That's not a normal thing for somebody to do. If you meet somebody on the street and you look over, acknowledge them, say hi or what, they'll look at you, or even if you don't say nothing, they'll look at you and look away. Well, this guy never looked away. He's coming straight at me. So I stopped. I was carrying a 38 Smith & Wesson Airweight and belt holster under my jacket. It was right around Christmas time or before. And I, like I said, I practiced that draw all the time. Well, I turned around and looked, and he was walking. He come out between the cars at about, I'd say 40, 50 feet, and he was walking straight towards me. And like I said, the part that got my attention was he didn't take his eye away. I'm staring him right in the eyes. He's walking, he got about in the middle of the aisle, which would probably be about, 30 feet, maybe, from the back of the van, or from me. He lifted, when he did, he lifted his shirt up, reached in his belt, and he pulled it halfway out. It was a gun. I couldn't tell what kind it was, but it was definitely a gun. When he did that, my gun was out. As soon as he did that, I didn't even think about it. My gun was out. I didn't point it directly at him. I pulled out, had my finger on the trigger with it pointed down, and he's still staring at me. Well, believe me, when he seen that gun, he just dropped his shirt, made a right turn, down the aisle. He walked all the way down to the end of the aisle, to the end of the cars, which is kind of far down. He walked over 3 rows of cars back the opposite direction and got in the car. Now, when he was coming to me, he wasn't, he was the other way. So, I thought, well, maybe that wasn't the gun he's doing. Maybe he's doing something. But I see he had his hand on something. I couldn't really see the gun itself. But I said, what was he doing way over there, But the point being, and that scared the crap out of me too. I can't tell you. I got adrenaline less you wouldn't believe. But that's what I'm saying. People walk around with their heads up their butt, so to speak. They think, well, ain't going to happen to me. They're not aware of their surroundings. You got to totally be aware of your surroundings, and not just if you're in a bad area. Anywhere. It can happen anywhere. It don't have to be in the ghetto or wherever. It can happen anywhere at any time. That's what you got to realize. And basically, you have to practice your firearm, because it's going to be a total different situation if you actually have to pull it. You're not going to have time to stand there and get a perfect stance and all this stuff. It's just going to be pull it out and point shoot. You're most likely not even going to have time to aim. That's why I practice like that. And believe me, at 20 feet, I don't need the sights. If I was going to shoot, one of its groups, I might, but I'm not going to be shooting one of its groups. I can hit at 21 feet without aiming. It's just pointing. But you got to practice that, and probably a lot of that comes from my fast draw stuff, because that's the way you shoot that. But that's the way it's going to be. It ain't going to be aiming. Everybody gets all their nice guns and they're standing up there making videos where they're showing how accurate it is. All that is bullcrap. It means nothing. Nothing, absolutely. Because anybody that can halfway shoot can do that at 20 feet. And that's probably what it's going to be, or closer. you need to practice like you're going to use that gun. Now, if you're practicing for target practice, well, yeah, go ahead and do that. But that's not what I practice for. I mean, you got to practice the way you're going to use the gun. That's all I can say. And all this standing up, aiming, anybody can do that. It ain't no big deal. Try pulling the gun out and shooting it from waist high. See if you can hit anything. Practice that way. It's just, it's like pointing your finger. You can point your finger at anything. It's point shooting. Okay? That's what you got to do. And I'm not as good a storyteller as Mad Bad Voodoo, but I'll give it a shot anyway. But this is actually what he called real life, is my real life 3 situations that I had to pull a firearm. Now, I've had more encounters. I had a guy pull a knife on me one time, but I wasn't even packing a firearm then. I just picked up a rock, kind of talked him out of it with the rock. He didn't want no part of that. And there's a few other situations too, but nothing. This is only 3 times that I ever had to use pull my firearm out. Luckily, I never had to shoot it. And most people don't know. I mean, if you have to shoot somebody and kill them, you got to deal with that later. I mean, most people, unless you're totally uncivilized, most people, it's going to have a traumatic effect on your life. You got to deal with it. You took somebody's life, and that's the last thing that I want to do. But like I said, I made my mind up I would if it was in defense of my life or anyone else's. And you just have to make your mind up on that. Everybody's different. Now, I don't know whether to say if you can't make your mind up to do that you shouldn't carry one. I don't really say that because it's better. I mean, if you're out with your family and stuff, you got no. You can't call the cops. I mean, but to protect you, the cops can't protect you. My son is a police officer, and he'll tell you the same thing. He gets there after the fact most of the time. So it's up to you to protect you and your family, and you don't have to make your mind up if you're willing to take somebody's life in order to do that. Personally, I would. Better them than me, and I would just have to deal with the emotional stress later. And believe me, I've never been in that situation, but for me, it would be a life-changing event. And I pray to God that I never have to do that. But it don't have to hurt to have insurance. People ask me, well, why do you carry a firearm? Somebody don't understand. The guy next door, he's not a gun guy. He thinks he's perfectly safe. Well, he probably is if he's living next to me, but that's neither here nor there. But he's not a gun guy. He believes he can just pick up his phone, call the police, and everything will be fine. That ain't the way it is. It's not that way. When seconds, what's that old saying? When seconds count, police are minutes away. There's a lot to be said for that. I'd rather have a Glock 9mm or something than a cell phone. I'll call the police later. But there's a lot of people like that. They walk around and people think all the bad stuff already happens to everybody else. It never happens to them. And that's actually the way people believe. And they ask me, well, why do you carry a firearm? Well, because I can, I tell them. And I've said that before too. But I basically tell them, it's like car insurance or house insurance. I carry it just in case. It's something you buy or have that you hope you never need. And that's what I tell them. They can usually understand that, but some of them can. But then there's some of them that just believe that you can totally rely on the police. I can see the police station where I'm sitting right now. That's how close it is. But I still wouldn't trust them getting here. They ain't there most of the time. They're having coffee or donuts down at the donut shop or something. But I live right here, and I've called like the fire department and stuff a couple times for emergencies, and they got here fairly quick. 3-4 minutes they was here, but that's too long. That is, if somebody's trying to break in your house, 3 or 4 minutes is too long. A minute's too long. By the time help gets there, the crap's already went down. That's all I can say. You have to realize this, and everybody see this video. I wish join NRA. You have to join NRA. That's the only thing we got That's the only reason we have any guns right now. I mean, there'd be so much restriction on guns right now that you know, you wouldn't even be able to use them. But so everybody needs to join that right there, the NRA. And that's about all I got to say about that. And I hope everybody, I hope it's helped somebody. But just be sure to practice with your firearms. You got to go out and shoot them a little bit. You know, practice your draw. You can stand there and dry fire. You know, it ain't gonna hurt nothing. If you're worried about snapping the cap, or snapping the trigger, get some snap caps or whatever. Practice your draw, and make your mind up that you're willing to use that firearm. Hopefully you never will, but then again, you never know. So anyway, I hope this helps somebody, and I don't know if anybody else wants to make a video response to 51D-SS, just attach it to the video, and maybe we can get a chain going here, and maybe some of this stuff will help somebody. I don't know. But anyway, that being said, I guess I'm out. Catch you later.